Velshi held her daughter close as another explosion rocked the ship. The little one whimpered against her chest, her small hands gripping the worn fabric of Velshi's clothing. Around them, other Keshari families huddled together in the dark corridors, their large eyes reflecting what little light remained from the emergency systems. "Mother, I'm scared," whispered Naya, her voice barely audible over the groaning metal. "I know, little star, I know." Velshi stroked her daughter's soft fur, trying to hide her own fear. She had always taught Naya that fear was nothing to be ashamed of. The Keshari were an empathic people. They felt each other's emotions like waves in an ocean. Right now, that ocean was drowning in terror. The ship shuddered again. Someone cried out in pain from the medical bay down the hall. Velshi knew that sound. Another one of their elders had passed. That made 15 since they escaped 3 days ago. 15 lives lost to damaged life support systems and injuries they couldn't properly treat. "All Keshari, please listen." The voice of Captain Torin echoed through the ship's speakers. His voice was steady, but Velshi could feel his exhaustion even through the metal walls. "We have lost pursuit for now. The consortium ships have fallen back, but our situation is critical. Food supplies will last another week. Water for 5 days. We need to find help soon." Velshi closed her eyes. A week, 5 days. Numbers that meant nothing when you had 40,000 refugees spread across 12 dying ships. The youngest Keshari, the children like Naya, they would go first. Their small bodies couldn't handle the hunger and cold. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The Keshari had been part of the Galactic Consortium for 300 years. They had followed every rule, paid every tribute, and asked for nothing except peace. Then the Consortium passed the Efficiency Act. Every species had to cull their weak members. The sick, the disabled, the elderly. All gone, they said, for the greater good of the galaxy. The Keshari Council had refused. Their entire culture was built on caring for each other. How could they abandon those who needed them most? The Consortium's answer had been swift: blockade, sanctions, threats. And when the Keshari still refused, violence. Velshi remembered the day the Consortium warships arrived in orbit. She had been teaching at the youth center, helping young Keshari learn about their empathic gifts. The first bombardment hit the northern continent. Millions died in seconds. The council had no choice. They gathered every ship they could find and evacuated whoever could reach the spaceports in time. 40,000 out of 4 billion. That was all they saved. "Mother, where are we going?" Naya asked, pulling Velshi back to the present. "I don't know yet, little star. Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't hurt us anymore, but where was safe?" The Consortium controlled most of known space. Any planet they landed on would eventually turn them away or hand them over. They had sent distress signals to every neighboring system. No one answered. No one wanted to anger the Consortium. Velshi stood up, keeping Naya balanced on her hip. She needed to check on the others in her section. As a former teacher, she had become one of the caretakers for the children whose parents hadn't made it off their homeworld. 23 little ones who woke up every night crying for mothers and fathers who were gone. She moved through the corridors, offering comfort where she could. A touch on the shoulder here, a whispered word of hope there, but she could feel their despair. It pressed against her mind like a physical weight. They were dying, and they all knew it. In the cargo bay that had been converted to a children's sleeping area, Velshi found Elder Mashon sitting with the orphans. His silver fur was dull with age and stress, but his eyes were still kind. He was singing an old Keshari lullaby, his voice cracking on the high notes. "How are they?" Velshi asked quietly. Mashon looked up at her and she felt his sadness like a cold wind. 3 more have the wasting sickness. Their bodies are giving up. We don't have the medicine they need." Velshi's heart broke. The wasting sickness came from malnutrition and stress. It attacked the young and old first. Without proper treatment, they would simply fade away. "There has to be something we can do," she said. "There is." Captain Torin's voice came from behind her. She turned to see him standing in the doorway, his face haggard. "We picked up a signal. A beacon from an uncharted system. It's marked in the old Consortium star charts." "Marked how?" Velshi asked. Torin hesitated. "Quarantine zone, dangerous species. Contact forbidden." Velshi felt the fear spike through the cargo bay. Even the children stirred in their sleep. A quarantine zone meant something so dangerous that the Consortium itself was afraid. "What choice do we have?" Mashon said quietly. "We die here in empty space, or we take our chances with whatever lives there." "At least there's a chance," Torin nodded slowly. "The Council agrees. We've set course for the system. We'll arrive in 18 hours. The planet is called Earth. And the species calls themselves humans. According to the old records, the consortium quarantined them 200 years ago. Why? Velshi asked. Why would they quarantine an entire species? Torin pulled up a datapad and read the official designation. Humanity. Quarantined for irrational aggression, refusal to follow species optimization protocols, and dangerous emotional instability. Deemed unsuitable for consortium membership. Avoid all contact. Velshi looked down at Naya, who had fallen asleep against her chest. Dangerous, aggressive, unstable. The words meant nothing compared to the alternative. At least there was a chance these humans would help. Or maybe they would kill the Kashari quickly instead of letting them die slowly. Either way, they were out of options. 18 hours, Velshi said. Then we meet these humans. She carried Naya back to their small corner of the ship and held her daughter close. Outside the viewport, the stars blurred as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Somewhere ahead, in a system the galaxy had forgotten, their last hope waited. Velshi just prayed these humans would at least be quick. The human ships appeared like ghosts out of the black. Velshi stood on the bridge of the lead Keshari vessel, watching the view screen with her heart pounding. Naya clung to her leg, silent but radiating fear that Velshi could feel like ice in her bones. Contact in 30 seconds, the sensor officer reported. His hands shook over the controls. They're moving to intercept. Captain Torin stood at the center of the bridge, his posture rigid. Hold position. Do not power weapons. We're here asking for help, not starting a fight. The human ships grew larger on the screen. They were strange, angular vessels covered in what looked like plates of armor, nothing like the smooth, elegant ships of the consortium. These looked brutal, built for war. They're hailing us, communications officer Petra said. Audio only. The translation matrix is struggling. Their language is very different. Put them through, Torin ordered. Static filled the bridge, then a voice. It was rough, deep, and spoke in sounds the Kashari had never heard before. The translation came through in broken pieces. Unknown vessels. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth defense ship Valkyrie. You have entered human space. State your purpose, Torin stepped forward. This is Captain Torin of the Kashari refugee fleet. We seek sanctuary. We are fleeing persecution from the Galactic Consortium. We have 40,000 civilians. Many are wounded. Children are dying. Please, we need help. Silence. Long enough that Velshi thought the humans had cut the connection. Then the voice returned, and this time Velshi could hear something in it that the translation software couldn't capture, something that made her empathic senses tingle. Refugees? The consortium is after you? Yes, we refused to kill our weak. They called us defective. They destroyed our world. More silence. Velshi held Naya closer. She could feel the tension from every Kashari on the bridge. This was it. Either these humans would help or turn them away. There was nowhere else to go. Valkyrie to refugee fleet. The human captain's voice was different now. Firm. Decided. Follow our ships. We're taking you to Mars. We have facilities there. Medical teams are already being prepped. You're safe now. Velshi felt her legs go weak. Safe. The word felt foreign. Impossible. Why? Torin asked, his voice breaking. The consortium marked you as dangerous. They said to avoid humans. Why would you help us? A pause. Then, because someone should have helped us when we needed it. Follow us. We'll talk more once your people are taken care of. The human ships moved into formation around the Kashari fleet, creating a protective envelope. Velshi watched through the viewport as one of the massive human vessels positioned itself directly in front of the lead Kashari ship. A shield. They were using their own ship as a shield. They're protecting us, Petra whispered. Why would they do that? They don't even know us. I don't understand either, Torin said. But right now I don't care. Set course. Follow them. The journey to Mars took 6 hours. During that time, human ships maintained their protective formation. They sent medical supplies across on small transport pods. Food, water purification units, medicine for the wasting sickness. All given freely before they even reached human space proper. Velshi worked in the medical bay helping distribute the supplies. The human medicine was strange. Designed for a completely different biology, but the containers came with detailed instructions and modification guides. Someone had spent time making sure the Kashari could use them safely. Mother, look. Naya pointed at one of the supply containers. It had a drawing on the side. A crude picture of a Kashari and a human holding hands. Below it, in carefully translated Kashari script, were the words, "You're not alone anymore." Velshi felt tears running down her face. Around her, other Kashari were crying too. The emotional wave rolled through the ship, relief so powerful it was almost painful. When they finally approached Mars, Velshi saw a red planet covered in domes and structures. The human ships guided them to a massive orbital station. Through the view screen, she could see humans in spacesuits already working on docking clamps and connection tubes. All Kashari refugees, this is Mars Central Command. A new voice, older, female. I'm Commander Rodriguez. Welcome to human space. We've prepared emergency shelters in Dome 7. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. Medical teams are standing by. Bring your wounded first. We'll get everyone settled, then we can talk. The docking process was chaotic but organized. Humans in medical uniforms rushed aboard the Kashari ships the moment the airlocks opened. They worked with an intensity that startled Velshi. These were the dangerous, aggressive species the consortium warned about. A human doctor, a small woman with dark skin and kind eyes, approached Velshi. I'm Dr. Amara. Where are the sickest children? Velshi led her to the cargo bay where the orphans were kept. Dr. Amara took one look at the small, weak bodies and immediately started barking orders into her communication device. Within minutes, human medical teams swarmed the area with portable equipment. These little ones are severely malnourished, Dr. Amara said, running a scanner over Naya. When did they last have a proper meal? Weeks, Velshi admitted. We rationed what we had for the youngest, but it wasn't enough. Dr. Amara's face hardened. Not with anger at Velshi, but with something else. Something fierce. No child should starve. Not on our watch. We'll get them fed. All of them. Over the next hours, the Kashari were transferred to the domes on Mars. The shelters were basic, as the human commander had said, but they were clean and warm. Real beds, working bathrooms, lights that didn't flicker, simple things that felt like miracles. Velshi stood in one of the common areas, watching human workers setting up food distribution centers and medical stations. They moved with purpose, no hesitation. Many looked tired, as if they had been working non-stop. For strangers, for aliens they had never met. Your people work very hard, Velshi said to a young human man who was assembling beds nearby. He couldn't have been more than 20 years old. He looked up and smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth, but Velshi could feel the warmth behind it. Yeah, well, you guys need help. That's what we do, but why? We are nothing to you. The consortium says humans are dangerous. They warned everyone to stay away. The young man's smile faded. He set down his tools and looked at Velshi directly. You want to know why we help? My grandmother, she had what your people would call a defect. Her body didn't work right. She needed help to walk, to eat, to live. And you know what? She was the strongest person I ever knew. She taught me that strength isn't about being perfect. It's about taking care of each other. He picked up his tools again. The consortium wanted you to kill people like my grandmother. That makes them the monsters, not us. So yeah, we help. Because no one should have to run and hide for refusing to murder their family. Velshi felt the truth of his words through her empathic senses. No deception. No hidden agenda. Just simple, honest compassion. For the first time since leaving her homeworld, Velshi allowed herself to hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had found something more than sanctuary. Maybe they had found allies. 3 days after arriving on Mars, Velshi still couldn't believe what she was seeing. The Human Medical Center was full of activity. Human doctors worked alongside Kashari healers, sharing knowledge and techniques. The children with wasting sickness were already showing improvement. The elders who had been dying were now sitting up, eating real food, color returning to their fur. But it wasn't just the medical help that amazed Velshi. It was everything else. Human engineers worked day and night repairing the Kashari ships. They refused payment. You'll need these vessels to be safe, a gruff engineer named Marcus told Captain Torin. Can't have you flying around in death traps. Human families opened their homes to Kashari refugees. Velshi and Naya were staying with a couple named James and Lisa Chen. They had given up their daughter's bedroom so Naya would have her own space. Their daughter Emma didn't complain. Instead, she spent hours teaching Naya human games and trying to learn Kashari words. Why do your people do this? Velshi asked Lisa one evening as they prepared dinner together. We are aliens, strangers, yet you treat us like family. Lisa paused, her hand still on the vegetables she was cutting. Want to know a secret about humans? Velshi nodded. We were almost destroyed once, long time ago before we reached the stars. We nearly killed ourselves with wars and hate. We learned something from that darkness. We learned that the only thing that saves us from our worst impulses is choosing to care for each other. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, she resumed cutting. The consortium contacted us about 200 years ago. They wanted us to join. Then they learned about how we take care of our disabled, our sick, our elderly. They said we were wasting resources on defective members. They said we needed to be more efficient. Lisa's knife came down harder on the cutting board. We told them where they could shove their efficiency. They quarantined us, said we were too dangerous, too emotional, called us unstable because we wouldn't murder our grandmothers to save money. Velshi felt anger radiating from Lisa. Not at her, but at the memory, at the consortium. So when you showed up running from the same monsters who tried to change us, Lisa looked at Velshi with fierce eyes. There was no question, we help. That's what we do. That night, Velshi couldn't sleep. She walked through the dome, watching the activity that never seemed to stop. Human volunteers arriving with supplies, construction crews expanding the shelters, teachers setting up schools for the Keishari children. She found herself in the medical wing where the most critical patients were kept. In a small room, she saw a human doctor sitting beside a young Keishari child. The child, a boy named Tarek, had been dying when they arrived. The wasting sickness had taken hold too deeply. The doctor, a tall man with gray hair, was holding Tarek's small hand. He wasn't doing anything medical, just sitting there. Being present, Dr. Morrison, Velshi said quietly from the doorway. He looked up and Velshi saw tears in his eyes. I'm sorry. I should be working. But Tarek asked me not to leave. He's scared. You don't need to apologize, Velshi said, entering the room. You are working. This is exactly what he needs, Dr. Morrison smiled sadly. I have a grandson about his age. Can't imagine what these children have been through. Losing their homes, their parents. Running for their lives. Why does it hurt you? Velshi asked. Her empathic senses told her this man's pain was real. He genuinely hurt for Tarek. You don't know him. You just met our people days ago. Does it matter? Dr. Morrison asked. He's a child. He's suffering. That's enough. Velshi sat on Tarek's other side. The boy's breathing was labored but steady. He would live. The human medicine was working. The consortium said humans were dangerous, Velshi said. They said you were too aggressive, too violent, too emotional. Dr. Morrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, we can be all those things. Humans are capable of terrible violence. We've done horrible things to each other throughout our history, but we're also capable of this. He gestured to Tarek. We're capable of sitting with a dying child we just met because he asked us not to leave. That's human too. A young human soldier appeared in the doorway. She was holding a small stuffed animal. Dr. Morrison? I brought something for Tarek. Thought he might like it. Dr. Morrison took the toy, a soft bear, and carefully placed it in Tarek's arms. The boy's eyes flickered open, and even through his pain, he smiled. What's your name? Velshi asked the soldier. Private Maria Santos, ma'am. I'm stationed here at the Mars Defense Garrison. You brought a toy for a sick child. Why? Maria looked confused by the question. Because he's sick? And scared? Kids need something to hold on to. Makes them feel safer. Maria, Velshi said carefully. Can I ask you a question? The consortium is powerful. They have millions of ships. If they come here demanding we be surrendered, what will your people do? Maria's expression changed. The softness left her face, replaced by something hard. Something that reminded Velshi why the consortium had called humans dangerous. They won't take you, Maria said simply. But you could be destroyed. Why would you risk that for us? Maria knelt down beside Tarek's bed, gently adjusting his blanket. When she looked up at Velshi, her eyes were fierce. You see this little guy and all the other kids here? The families who lost everything? The elders who should be living in peace instead of running for their lives? Maria's voice was quiet but intense. No one hurts them again. Not while we're here. Not while we can stand. That's the promise. That's what it means to be human. Velshi felt the conviction behind those words. Through her empathic senses, she felt something she had never experienced from another species. A willingness to stand between the innocent and harm.
Not for profit.
Not for glory. Just because it was right. No one hurts you again, Velshi repeated softly. That is a powerful promise. It's the only one that matters, Maria said. She stood up and smiled at Tarek. You rest now, little man. We've got you. As Maria left to return to her duties, Dr. Morrison continued his vigil beside Tarek. Velshi stayed with them, watching the doctor's gentle care. She thought about the consortium's assessment of humanity. Dangerous, aggressive, unstable. They were right, Velshi realized. Humans were dangerous, but not in the way the consortium thought. They were dangerous because they had turned compassion into defiance. They were dangerous because they refused to accept cruelty as normal. They were dangerous because they had looked at the galaxy's rules and said no. And now 40,000 Kashari refugees had the protection of the most dangerous species in known space. Not because the humans wanted something from them, but because a child had asked them not to leave. Velshi looked at Tarek, sleeping peacefully now with his stuffed bear. For the first time since her world burned, she believed her daughter might have a future. "No one hurts you again," she whispered, testing the words. They felt like a prayer, like hope, like the truth. The alarms woke Velshi from the first peaceful sleep she'd had in weeks. Red lights flashed through the dome. The emergency broadcast system activated, sending its message in both human and Kashari languages. "Attention all personnel. Unknown vessels detected at the edge of the system. All military units report to stations. Civilians remain in designated shelters." "This is not a drill," Velshi's heart stopped. She grabbed Naya from her bed and held her daughter tight. Around them, other Kashari families were emerging from their quarters, fear thick in the air. "They found us," someone whispered. "The consortium found us." James Chen appeared in the doorway, already dressed in what looked like military gear. "Lisa will take you to the emergency shelter. It's deep underground. You'll be safe there." "What about you?" Velshi asked, though her empathic senses already told her the answer. "I'm Mars Defense Force, reserve unit, but they're calling everyone up." He kissed his wife quickly. "Take care of them." "James, wait," Velshi called as he turned to leave. "If the consortium demands we be surrendered, give us to them. Don't let your people die for us." James looked back and Velshi saw something in his eyes that made her feel both terrified and protected at the same time. "That's not going to happen. We don't abandon family." He left before Velshi could respond. Lisa guided them through the dome to the underground shelter. Hundreds of Kashari were already there, along with human families. Children clung to parents. Elders sat quietly, resigned to whatever came next. Captain Torrin stood on a raised platform trying to maintain order. "Please, everyone stay calm. The humans are handling this. We must trust them." "Trust them to do what?" shouted an older Kashari named Preth. "Die for us? We should turn ourselves over. End this before more innocent blood is spilled." "No." The voice came from Commander Rodriguez, the human officer who had first welcomed them to Mars. She stood at the entrance to the shelter, her uniform crisp despite the early hour. "That's not an option, Commander," Captain Torrin said carefully. "We appreciate everything your people have done, but we cannot ask you to fight the consortium. They have thousands of ships. This is not your war." "You're right," Rodriguez said. "It's not our war. It's our choice. And we've made it." She activated a holographic display showing the space around Mars. The Kashari gasped. Consortium warships were entering the system. Dozens of them. Maybe more. "Consortium Fleet Commander Jaros is hailing us now," Rodriguez continued. "He's demanding we surrender all Kashari refugees for processing. He's giving us 1 hour to comply." "Processing," Velshi said bitterly. "They mean execution," Rodriguez nodded. "We know. That's why we're not complying." The shelter erupted in voices. Kashari shouting that they should surrender. Humans arguing back. Rodriguez held up her hand for silence. "Let me show you something." The holographic display shifted. Now it showed human ships. Velshi's breath caught. There were so many. Military vessels from Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, the outer stations. They were moving into formation around Mars, creating a defensive wall between the planet and the incoming consortium fleet. "This is humanity's response," Rodriguez said quietly. "Every available ship. Every crew. They've been mobilizing since the moment we detected the consortium vessels." "Why?" Preth asked, his voice breaking. "Why would you do this?" Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke, and every word carried weight. 200 years ago, the consortium came to us. They told us we were defective because we cared for our weak. They said we had to change or be isolated. We chose isolation. We chose to be called monsters rather than become them. She looked around at the Kashari faces. "When you arrived, running from the same choice, what did you expect us to do? Welcome you with one hand while preparing to sell you out with the other? That's not who we are. We made our choice 200 years ago. We're making it again today." On the display, the consortium ships drew closer. Velshi could see they vastly outnumbered the human vessels. "Commander," Captain Torrin said, "I am looking at this tactical display. The consortium has 3 times your numbers. They have superior weapons. This is suicide." Rodriguez smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Fleet Commander Zeros is thinking the same thing. He's probably confused right now. wondering why we're not immediately surrendering. The consortium doesn't understand us. They think warfare is about efficiency, about calculating odds and choosing the winning side. It's not? Asked Elder Machon. No, Rodriguez said. For us, it's about what we're willing to die for. And we decided a long time ago that some things are worth any cost. The display shifted to show the bridge of the lead consortium ship. A tall alien appeared, his skin covered in silver scales. Fleet Commander Zeros, human vessels, this is your final warning. Surrender the Kashari refugees immediately or face the consequences. You cannot win this fight. You are outnumbered and outgunned. A new voice responded, and Velshi recognized it. Captain Sarah Chen from the Earthship Valkyrie. Commander Zeros, this is Captain Chen, we have your message. Here's ours. No. The simple word hung in the air. Jeros's voice took on a threatening tone. You are harboring criminals. Defective beings who refuse to comply with consortium law. They must be processed. They're refugees, Chen replied, her voice hard as steel. They're under human protection now. You want them? You go through us. You would start a war over these inferior creatures? Zeros sounded genuinely confused. There was a pause. Then Chen spoke again, and Velshi heard something in her voice that made her empathic senses ring like a bell. Conviction. Absolute, unshakable conviction. They're not starting a war, Commander. You are. The moment you threatened people under our protection, you declared war on humanity. You just didn't realize it yet. This is madness, Zeros said. You cannot hope to win. We will destroy your ships. We will take the Keshari, and we will quarantine your entire species for this defiance. You're welcome to try, Chen said. But understand something, Commander. You're not fighting for territory or resources. You're fighting people who are protecting their family. Every human out here has someone they love on Mars, someone we've promised to keep safe, including 40,000 Keshari who trusted us when they had nowhere else to go. Another voice joined the channel. Admiral William Foster from Earth's main defense fleet. Commander Zeros, you have one chance to leave this system peacefully. Take your ships and go. Never threaten these people again. That's the only offer you get. Unacceptable. You have 30 minutes to surrender the refugees or we attack. Admiral Foster's response was immediate. Then we'll see you in 30 minutes. Earth Defense Fleet, all ships, battle stations. Protect Mars, protect the refugees. No one gets through. The channel cut out. In the shelter, absolute silence fell. Velshi looked around at the faces of her people. Fear, disbelief, and something else. Something she hadn't seen since before they lost their homeworld. Hope. They're really going to fight, whispered Naya. For us. Rodriguez knelt down to Naya's level. Yes, we are. Because no one hurts you again. We promised, remember? What if you lose? Naya asked, her small voice shaking. Rodriguez touched Naya's face gently. Then we lose fighting for something that matters. But we won't lose, little one. You know why? Naya shook her head. Because humans are very good at protecting things we love, and we've decided we love you all. On the display, the countdown began. 30 minutes until battle. 30 minutes until the Kashari learned if the human promise was just words or something more. Velshi held Naya close and felt the emotions of 40,000 Kashari refugees.